Awesome. Everyone, thank you for joining the weekly UTSA baseball press conference. Here we have head coach Pat Hallmark and senior pitcher Christian Okerholm. Before we get to questions, when we do, please use the raise hand function in Zoom. But first, Coach, if you could start us off with your thoughts on the weekend, a 2-1 showing at FAU, your thoughts there, and then previewing the week ahead, which includes A&M Corpus at home on Tuesday and East Carolina at home Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yeah, it was a good weekend. Anytime you go on the road and you win 2 out of 3, especially in conference, because everybody's tough, you got to be happy with it. So, yeah, pleased with the weekend. Christian did a great job starting us off with strikes, so real happy with that. Yeah, Corpus tomorrow, ECU this weekend. So right now, just trying to focus on Corpus, but should be a good week. Fun baseball. Looking forward to it.
Any idea?
Jerry, any questions?
I got
yeah,
one.
Coach. Just wanted to ask a little bit about Christian. His, I know he got the start the other night on Friday night. What's what do you think Christian's role is moving forward?
He's going to pitch in a variety of roles. Yeah, versatility, adaptability, which is 2 things we talk about with our whole team, but that's probably the best way to describe his role. I don't want to speak for him, but I think he's embraced this idea of what we do here. We hang our hat on throwing strikes, so that's what we like about him. He's very reliable. He's what I call a grown-up. You know what you're going to get. Not a lot of surprises, and that's a positive. I'm saying that and I mean that in a very complimentary way for young people. That's not always the case. I know when I was their age, I wasn't as reliable as I should have been. So, but Christian is. So that's what we see from him moving forward.
Mike?
Yeah, Coach, congratulations on the 2 or 3 on the road. That can be nightmarish, as you well know. But have you looked ahead to tomorrow and who's going to get the ball tomorrow to start?
Cappy, we have, and yeah, I don't want to announce it only because Coach Malone over at Corpus and I have not talked and exchanged, so I'd rather keep it in-house until I know who they're throwing, just so they don't have any advantage in terms of preparation.
Okay, let me go one step further here. Christian did a great job for you, and just looking at what I could see when I tuned in, it looked like Gunnar Brown had a decent enough outing.
He did. Gunnar walked a few too many. I think his strike percentage was 53%, which the goal is 62. So he didn't quite throw all the strikes we wanted him to throw, but Gunnar's a little different because of he's got 4 pitches that really work well together. They're very unique and distinctive pitches. So Gunnar survived around the 4 free pass, and I think he had 2 2/3 innings, something like that. But Gunnar was competitive. I think our what I like about our pitching, at least the guys that are pitching lately, they're competitive people. They're hungry. They pitch a little bit with a chip on their shoulder. And I'm describing Gunnar, but Christian too. But we always talk so much about strikes. But the other thing we do talk a lot about in-house is just being competitive and feeling like you got something to prove every time out there. So I thought Gunnar did that despite all of us wanted more strikes from him. But he was very competitive.
Rylan?
Coach, I wanted to ask about kind of your plan for Connor Kelly now. Obviously, Christian got to start on Friday, so I just kind of wanted to know what the approach is there with him, if there's something specific you have in mind for him, or just what the overall approach is.
The hope is that Connor, that we can work Connor back in lower leverage situations to see if he can get back in the strike zone. But now's not the time to run him out there in a high leverage situation with the game on the line. So that's the hope. But these games mean so much. Every game means a lot. So it's not super easy to do. But Connor's working very, very hard, as you can imagine. And again, he is hungry to get another opportunity. And the stuff is good. There's nothing wrong with the stuff. He's one of the few guys that can run the heater up to 95, and he's got a plus breaker and a plus changeup when he's throwing them for strikes. So That in and of itself merits some opportunities. So we're looking for ways to get him opportunities.
Going into the series against FAU, it listed the Sunday starter spot as TBD. Were you looking at maybe making a change, moving Dove from that starting spot, or was just kind of a little bit of gamesmanship, not wanting to commit to a starter on Sunday in case you had to, roll out a different rotation, or what was that about?
It was no gamesmanship. It had everything to do with using Dove in high leverage situations. So if I wanted to see how Friday went, and then if I didn't think Dove would pitch Friday because both Mike D and Sam and Gunner were all available, but I thought, you never know what kind of game you're going to get. If we had used a couple of those guys on Friday, you'd have seen Dove Saturday in relief to win the game. Kendall's done a good job, so I'm not going to hold a guy on this current pitching staff. We're not in a place to hold a guy to Sunday and pitch a lesser caliber baseball player on Saturday with the game on the line. I hope that makes sense. So it was not gamesmanship at all. It was we wanted to use Dove to win the game if we needed him on Saturday, and then we didn't get in a position to do that. Then Dove's available to start on Sunday.
Christian, I wanted to ask you about your experience, preparing for your first Friday night start of the season, just kind of what all went into that and what were you telling yourself as you went out there on Friday?
I prepared for it just like another outing. Just because I was starting, I didn't really let that change how I was going about anything. I was just really making sure I wanted to throw strikes. I think Coach Hallmark has done a really good job of taking pressure of us as pitchers by saying, if you hit the numbers, you'll get more opportunities. So I really taking that to heart. I take that upon myself to really make sure I throw strikes. I think that's my identity. So I make sure I throw strikes every time.
Coach, last question for me. Since you joined the American Conference, you've won the opening series each time, including, back in 2024 against the number 10 ranked ECU. Now you got ECU coming back this weekend. Just how important is it to get up to those, starts in American Conference play? Obviously, it's a competitive league. So can you just talk about the importance of that?
Yeah, was that for me or Christian? I'm sorry, Rylan.
Oh, it was for you. Sorry.
Yeah, it's always important to get off to a good start. At the end of the day, you got 9 weekends in the league and 3 games a weekend, so they all kind of count the same. But it just helps with morale and maybe a little confidence. Although I do think the team does have confidence, regardless of the results. It's a good group of people that I'm fortunate enough to coach. So it helps. At the end of the day, it's just about trying to have the best record at the end of 27 games. So whether you're talking about the first weekend or the 6th or the 9th or whatever, we're trying to win games to win this thing. That's really what we're trying to do.
Derek.
Yeah, Coach, I wanted to ask about Jacob Silva. He's up at the top of a lot of offensive categories right now, and just kind of your thoughts on the way he's swinging the bat.
He's done a really, really good job. Yeah, I could talk a lot about Jacob. I don't want to take up the whole time, but I'm proud of him. I've known Jacob since since I moved to San Antonio 9 years ago. So Jacob was probably 11 or 10 or something at that time. And him and Christian, not Oklahoma, but Hallmark, have played baseball together since the spring we moved here. So known Jacob a long time. He's always hit. We tweaked him a little bit to try to tap into maybe some power and avoid the double play a little bit. So we made a few changes with him. And it's not easy when you got a player who's had success hitting in his life, and you ask him to start tinkering a little bit. They don't always embrace that, and Jacob's embraced it, and you're starting to see some of the power. So happy for Jacob.
How do you think he's doing behind the dish?
He's fine. Saturday wasn't his best game, but Jacob's fine. He's a worker. That's probably the number one reason we recruited him pretty hard when he did get in the portal. Was I'm fully aware of his work ethic, incredible work ethic. So it's fine. He's caught well. I don't know how many games he's caught, and Saturday was the first game that he wasn't great defensively too. So he'll be okay. He'll be fine. He's probably out there working right now. So we're lucky to have him.
JJ.
You get into the kind of the heart of the season here where you got a midweek game and then a conference series. Just kind of what's the mentality of what do you want the mentality of your players to be as you kind of get into a little bit of a rhythm here in this part of the season?
Hunger, chip on the shoulder, kind of pretty standard things for us, and then maybe to split it a little more specific when you talk pitchers and position players. I think from a pitching side, I hope they really lean into this idea of make the other team beat me, really challenging the strike zone. In other words, one way to look at it is like it's about the pitcher. That's what I hope our pitchers think. It's not about the hitter. If I'm Christian Okerholm or Connor Kelly or any of them, like their world is about themselves. I know that seems weird, but in a baseball way, that's what it should be about. It should be totally tied into like what I'm going to do to you. And if you happen to get lucky and get some hits on me, okay. But it's pure luck. Like I'm about to do this to you, and that's all tied into strikes. So that's what I hope the identity is of our people on the mound. And then from a position player standpoint, it's I don't know if it catch you off guard or not, but I hope the identity is tied to defense. We do okay hitting, and hitting is like this. Like even the best hitting teams are going to have days they don't always hit or don't hit as well as you want to hit. It's just how hitting is. But I don't see enough identity tied to some of our people right now. Like I'm a defender. I'm here to stop runs as much as I'm here to produce them. So, and that's on me. Like I don't think I've instilled that in us enough, but that's what I hope to do moving forward, and I hope that's the identity of our position players.
Pat, when you talk about the pitching, where do you think as a group they're at right now with that mentality? It's still a work in progress?
It is a work in progress for some of them, but I really think, JJ, for more of them than not, they're either close or they're there. With Christian Okerholm, like he's there. Like, I don't want to jinx it, but I feel like if Christian pitches, yeah, they might get some hits, give up a run or 2 runs or whatever. At some point, he's going to have a bad inning or something, but they're going to hit Christian. I don't think Christian's going to walk 3, right? I got to knock on wood or whatever, but like I feel strong enough saying that, and I think most of them are there. Even the ones that maybe don't quite hit our numbers. We have these, Christian referred to, we have like specific numbers we're trying to hit when it comes to throwing strikes. So even the ones that don't quite hit the team numbers, they're getting closer and they're improving into what they normally hit. In other words, you have these people enter the fall new to UTSA, Ryan Self and Chris Gutierrez, and like their numbers in the fall are improving. They might not always hit this UTSA benchmark number, but they're improving. And that's what you want as a coach. That tells me they're bought in. It tells me they have the mindset that I'm describing. Whether they eventually reach this UTSA number or not, like this weekend, I don't know. But their minds are right because they're improving at this idea of hitting the numbers. So, and that's where most of us are at. Maybe a pitcher or two still not quite there, but for the most part, they are there. So that's what we hope to continue to see out of the pitching.
Christian, I have one for you. I asked Coach last week about what he has seen out of the freshmen. As a leader, as a senior on this team, what have you seen out of the younger pitchers getting some experience, the Selfs of the world, the Jake Paulias? What have you seen out of those guys?
I think our freshman core is pretty impressive. I've been to a couple programs, and I think they're really good at being mature and not letting pressure get to them too much while on the mound. You'll see other freshmen, once they get to college, struggle with that when they get to campus. I think our freshmen do a really good job of being comfortable and staying confident in matters that in moments that matter.
Rylan.
Coach, you mentioned the bedrock of your team being the defense. I felt like Jordan Bain had a pretty good bounce back series. He had some pretty great catches out there at shortstop. How did you assess his play against FAU, and how did you feel your team played defensively overall? I think there was 2 games where y'all had 0 errors, if I'm remembering correctly. So just can you talk about him a little bit in the defense overall?
Jordan was solid. That's the way I would describe it. It was classic Jordan. I hope solid. So some of the terms I use are probably not complimentary enough in a young person's mind, but I think as older people, I think maybe y'all understand this idea of reliability and solid. That's what we're looking for. It's hard to be spectacular all the time, and then I don't even want spectacular because then hubris and arrogance creeps in there. I just want solid and reliable. So, and I thought Jordan was that. And yeah, you are correct. I think we had Friday and Sunday, I think we had 0 errors. Saturday, we did have a couple. I think on the scoreboard, I think we only had 1. but we did have some free passes a little bit with the wild pitch pass ball, and then we had another play at first base that got scored a hit that was a very charitable base hit. But yeah, we need to just keep working in the right direction and tie our identity a little bit more to run stoppers as opposed to run producers.
Can you talk about Chris Gutierrez a little bit? He just seems to continue to improve, and even after giving up the home run, he hung in there, and I think pitched the longest he has all year. So it really seems like you guys are starting to work him in more. And can you just talk about his development a little bit?
He's been terrific. He's improved. He's one of the ones that I mentioned earlier. I didn't mention him by name, but he comes to mind in the fall. Chris's numbers at throwing strikes would hover around 52%. He'd have a good day and throw 58% strikes, somewhere in those neighborhoods, and our goal is 62%. And you can see Chris just steadily throwing more strikes. He's come up with a change-up split finger to give the right-handed hitters some problems. He came in with a good heater and a good breaker that's coming into right-handed hitters, but if the right-handed hitters could turn, which most right-handed hitters at this level turn well, they could get to him pretty good. And him and Coach Malone have really worked on this third pitch, splitter, changeup, to get something fading away from the right-handed hitter, and he's really taken to it. It looked fabulous Sunday. So yeah, really proud of Chris, happy for Chris, and hope he keeps trending in the right direction because he's going to get the ball some more.
And last one for me, and I don't mean to overlook A&M Corpus Christi on Tuesday, but anytime you have East Carolina come to town for a weekend series, it's always going to be a big spotlight, especially for a mid-major matchup. How do you view them this year, even though, they're still very talented, but they maybe aren't having the record that they had hoped at this point in the season? Can you just tell us about your assessment of them and how you view them despite, a little bit of a down year so far, if you'd call it that?
Oh, they're good. They're always good. They got a ton of talent. The Norby kid will be a high draft, the Friday guy, and then they got the Jenkins kid. They moved him to the bullpen. He's a big guy. They pitched well for him as a freshman, but was a little inconsistent. But they throw him in the bullpen, and now the velo's up from 95 to 98. But the breaker's the real pitch with Jenkins, so he's filthy. They always have a lot of talent. They're good. They're 15-9, I guess. I don't know what Cliff would say, but heck, if you're 15-9 and that's a down year, you're pretty dang good. So I don't know that they're having a down year. I've watched 2 of their 3 games already this past weekend against UAB, and they're running the bases like ECU. They're running the bases very aggressive, same way we run them. They're playing better defense than us. They look strong defensively, and they can really pitch. They don't quite have the offensive numbers that we have, but they're good. They're hitting over 300. They're on bases over 400. So they're very tough. Lots of left-handed pitching. A little bit. I'm a little concerned about that. We got to get some of our. We've platooned a lot, so I'm faced with a little bit of a question on whether I keep trying to platoon it with some of the righties that aren't quite hitting as well as we'd like, or we just stay with our lefty heavy lineup with some of the lefty pitching that they're going to throw at us. But they got 5 left-handed pitchers, so we'll prepare though.
Christian, I have a couple for you. First off, Luke Malone, stepping in and working more with the pitchers this year. What has that relationship been like out in that bullpen? And can you just speak to really yourself and the whole team, how they've viewed working with Coach?
I think Coach Malone's a great coach. He was our assistant pitching coach last year, so some of us got to be around him already, and so that chemistry, being built already, was really huge for us whenever he stepped up to be the pitching coach this year. I think he has a really good bond with everybody on the team, and he's very approachable if you need help with anything.
The elephant in the room, obviously, Rob goes down game 1. Since then, has there kind of been a next man up, or is there a mentality shift within the group of just how you approach the season after that?
I think as a pitcher, it's important to be a little bit selfish for your own innings. You want to pitch to help the team, but as my own pitcher, I want to get innings to be able to boost my stat to help the team as well. But I think it's important to have that inner competition, even when it's your teammates, to be I want the ball.
Got another one from Mike.
Yeah, Pat, this goes all the way back 2 years to when Trey Savage pitched here against us. And, of course, he ended up in the big leagues. And now he has a shoulder impingement. But East Carolina for years and years and years has had just top pitchers. And we played very well against them at home 2 years ago. And just watching the offense, watching your defense, it appears to me that the whole thing's starting to gel at a really good time, especially going into East Carolina.
Well, I hope so, Mike. I'd like to put together a string of positive defensive games before I'm ready to say I totally agree with you, but I hope you're right. Yeah, we've been as consistent as hitting can be. I think we've been pretty consistent with the bat, and then I haven't been all that disappointed with the pitching at all. It's one or two pitchers that have not maybe performed like everyone wanted, but for the most part, the pitching has been fine too. So we just got to get a little stingier defensively. That's really where the progress can be made, I think, which as I got on the airplane last night, I kept thinking that we're having a good year. I mean, we're still 17-7. We're 2-1 in conference. And I feel like, and I think a lot of people feel like we could be better, which is a positive, right? If you're 17-7 and having a pretty good year and you feel like you could be better, what's wrong with that? So that's the way I choose to look at it. We're going to keep working on this defensive side of the ball. I think a lot of it is expectation. I think sometimes, and again, this starts with me. I'm talking to myself, but it's this idea of expecting the baseball every pitch. It sounds so easy, but when you play 140 pitches in 3 hours, people's minds can wander. And I think it's cost us a little bit where we're not expecting the ball to be hit to us every single pitch. And we need to do that. So, again, it starts with me making that a point of emphasis. So that's what we're going to try to do.
Christian, I'm not sure how much you've looked ahead to. We have already played A&M Corpus this month, so I know you know that roster a little bit. But have you looked ahead to East Carolina with the coaching staff, and do you expect any changes or any specific difficulties with that lineup?
I'm more of in the mindset of how Hallmark says, like, what we're going to do to them. So we haven't looked to them yet because we still have to check out Corpus. But, like, when ECU comes around, like, we're in the mindset of what we're going to do to ECU, not how ECU is going to hit off us.
Rylan, one more.
Christian, I just wanted to get your take on how important it is to have a solid defense behind you. What do you tell your guys whenever sometimes maybe the ball bounces in a wonky way or they're just it's not their day? How do you as a pitcher uplift the guys behind you when they're struggling like that sometimes?
I try to make sure I don't show frustration. So, like, even if there's errors, like, that's part of baseball. You can't let that affect you too much. So, like, I have to have faith in my defense behind me, especially, like, I think I'm more of, like, a contact pitcher. I'll get my strikeouts here and there, but I need to have faith in my defense behind me to be able to, like, help me pitch good. So I think that's important to keep that mindset.
All right, Coach, I have one last question. This one comes from Leo. It says, hey, Coach Hallmark, great series win to start off conference. There's been a lot of talk about this M squad, and I wanted to know what it is and if you have any shout-outs to give.
I think our managers are fantastic. Leo and Tanner and Aiden, a couple other lefties, Luke and Raul. Yeah, these guys do a terrific job. So that's probably what that's about. We're lucky to have those guys, and they really do a fabulous job of getting things ready for us and helping our players relax and have fun at the same time. So thank you to all our managers and support staff.
Coach, Christian, thank you both for your time, and best of luck this week.
Thank you.